Hi everyone, welcome to Procrastination Points Video Snark. This video series isn't an audiobook, it's assigned as commentary. This series emphasizes reading and listening comprehension skills. My focus is on reading books, identifying areas that miss the mark, and suggesting ways that they could be reimagined. I'm continuing my read-through of Chromatic by Ashley Bustamante. If you haven't seen the earlier videos, you can find the links below. Chapter 5. 2 weeks later, they're still working to rehabilitate the benefactors. Ava thinks that the orange magic is actually helping them, which she expresses to Nikki when asked about it. However, Elma is still having doubts about Jaden. I hate to be the one to say it, but when the description of Jaden dropped, white blonde hair and blue eyes, really? Are we seriously doing this? Nikki is surprised to hear about Elm's reluctance about Jaden. She says that Jaden has been helping them to make a helicopter that can get closer to the magic dome and that he's been super useful. She's of the opinion that Elm is simply jealous. Ava isn't that stupid. Ava then redirects the conversation by using her mentalist powers on an ant to force it to change its path. Nikki is impressed and thinks about some of the stuff that she'd use her powers on. As you can expect, this leads down a conversational rabbit hole about how it is that the society ended up like this. Not all mentalists and all that. Nikki considers that her friend isn't exactly feeling quite right emotionally. Eva insists that it's the stress of everything recently, and with no way to predict the future, is not exactly going to go away. Their branch is interrupted by an earthquake. Both girls express confusion over this since they don't get earthquakes at Magus. However, if you're hoping to learn about this earthquake, you're going to be disappointed. Ava instead goes to visit Selene again. She tells her former mentor that she's been busy preparing for Selene's trial. Tells Selene that if she cooperates, then things will be a lot easier on her. Selene only laughs and tells Ava that this entire thing is a sham, that the mentalists have already made up their mind about her, which I'd like to remind Selene that she kind of, killed a lot of people. This isn't even some Hunger Games style world where this has been going on for 100 years. Elma and Ava were alive when the genocide started. It's in living memory of teenagers. When Ava brings up about how she'd found out about what Selene had been doing to the benefactors, Selene only laughs and throws it into Ava's face. Once all of this falls apart, everyone will wish things had continued as they were. It would have become easier and easier for each new generation. The mind control devices eventually wouldn't have even been necessary at all. It was a different path to freedom, but freedom all the same. I love how she openly admits to doing this. Is most of the purple population even on her side about this? I am once again highlighting the idea that if you need to mind control the population to agree with you about something, then your political skills need work. After being called out by Ava about the mind control business, Selene then pulls the last card in her deck, narcissistic control. However, Ava has been away from Selene long enough to recognize it for what it is. Selene doesn't love Ava and never has. She was a useful tool. But again, the distance between them has allowed Ava to recognize that. She admits to the readers that Selene was never an actual mentor to her, nor was she ever anything resembling a mother figure. Which I'd like to make a call back to Book 1, when Ava would spend her school holidays with Blake and his family, not with the woman who apparently had so much of an interest in Ava. She literally couldn't even pretend for a 3-day weekend. Selene is so bad at this, it's almost laughable. Ava then redirects the conversation to Selene's brother. Selene doesn't like that much and yells at Ava to get out. Once that's said, Ivan said that he heard the yelling. I'm not even going to bring up why it is that nobody's even been watching these conversations again. I'm so freaking tired. Anyway, Eva tells Ivan about Selene's brother and how he was a blue magic user. She doesn't know if he's even alive anymore or not, but Ivan agrees that it would be worth looking up what happened to him if he's even still alive. Before he goes, he tells Ava that they'll be releasing the benefactors into society soon, that he could use her help to watch out for them to make sure that they're all behaving themselves. I see no way that the release only 2 weeks later could possibly go wrong. Later, Elma and Ava host a game night at Elm's place for the 2 benefactors that Ivan released, Jaden and a woman named Marin. Elm is still uncertain that this is the right move, and when he comes face to face with Jaden, it's obvious that he still doesn't trust the man, even with Ava reassuring him that they're former benefactors and that they were under Selene's mind control. Nope. I'm on Elm's side about this. Something with Jaden doesn't feel right. It might be a red herring, but still waiting for that other shoe to drop. But Ava is determined to make the best of it and instructs them to sit down and have snacks. She tells them that they'll be playing Ice Cream Mountain and Alvey's strip off of Candyland, but using dice that the players control with their magic. The only full versions of the game with all 3 dice are in Neo Prism now, thanks to Selene. They decide to split up into teams, and Jaden is quick to claim Ava as his partner. Elm doesn't like this much, and Ava suggests that Maureen might be more comfortable having Ava as a partner instead. Jaden brushes this off and is like, couldn't you force Maureen to be more comfortable? Which is like, wow, buddy, don't be shy, tell us how you really feel. Elm is quick to chide him for saying something so unbelievably rude. But Marin is taking her court-ordered rehab seriously. She says that she needs to do this, so they decide on game pieces and Marin draws a card first. She uses magic to roll the red dice, although I'm honestly a bit confused about how a strengthening spell could possibly impact the throw, unless you're intending to throw it halfway across the world or whatever. This has got to be one of my biggest problems with this series, how empty everything feels. The author is really, really good at coming up with a great idea. A board game that can only be played using their magic? Great! But what's the point of using a strengthening spell to roll the dice? This is literally never explained to us. When it's Elm's turn, at least he has some showmanship in making it appear as if the yellow disc exploded. And I get that. But what is the point of the strengthening spell? What does that add to the game that you couldn't get simply by throwing them under regular conditions? When it's Ava's turn, Jaden gets way too excited about her roll, or maybe the way that she used her magic. He puts his arms around her, but then Elm uses his own magic to force Jaden off. Although I kinda get where Elm is coming from. Jaden hanging off from a girl he barely knows is a little weird, although I would have done a tried and true, we keep our hands and our feet to ourselves, friend. Even Ava is a little put off by the entire thing and scoots away from him while he's busy being distracted by his turn. But after that, although they have fun with the rest of the game, Ava tells readers that it feels forced and awkward now. When the game is over, Jaden says that it was fun and that they'll have to do it again sometime. Ava makes sure to put extra emphasis on Marin's name with the implication that she isn't looking to spend one-on-one time with Jaden. As soon as they're gone, Elma's like, you have to admit that was weird, Ava. Bless her heart. She insists that Jaden was simply being friendly and got swept up in the excitement of the game. At this point, Ava decides that she has to confront Elma about potential jealousy over Jaden. He insists that it's not like that, but goes on to say that there's something off about him. This leads into Jaden's curiosity about yellow magic, but Ava brushes it off as being something novel and exciting. Elm brings up Marin's reaction towards yellow magic, but one person being scared of it and one boy being curious about it is hardly a good sample size. Ava brings up how Elm had been jealous over Blake, and without any sort of reason. Elm concedes to his fit of unfair jealousy over Blake, but insists that Jaden is different. Before I end the chapter, I'd like to remind everybody, Elm was inside Jaden's mind. Yes, it was in the context of using orange magic to pop a mind control bubble, but still, he was in Jaden's mind. He felt what popping Marin's bubble was like. Of course, he'd have an inkling of something being wrong in Jaden's mind. Love my Snark? I also offer book editing services where I bring that same approach to your writing. If you'd prefer a more traditional approach, I also offer professional book editing services. You can contact me on any of my social media platforms if you have further questions about my editing services, including pricing options. Chapter 6. The chapter opens with Ava and her mom going clothing shopping upon the insistence of Ava's mom for bonding time. Ava herself notes that it's odd to be doing something so trivial. But as they look through racks of clothing, Mrs. Locke asks what's going on, and Ava simply tells her, it's not so much a discussion of the plot that's bothering me, it's the fact that Ava is openly talking about all of this in the neo-prison version of Ross or whatever. State secrets, classified info, never heard of the concept, I guess. Ava talks about how they're trying to come up with a plan to go in and get all of the mentalist children that Selene had been grooming, which is fine. Everybody agrees that children shouldn't be used as fodder for whatever Selene is using them for. But when Ava mentions the idea that the end goal is to take down the barrier, that's where Mrs. Locke has some problem. Well, the people of Neo Prism have them. She says that the barrier was a thing keeping the benefactors away from them, which is one of those things that really only makes sense within the context of wartime, because if they've reached a point where the barrier is able to come down, then it means that they've got enough people on their side. As proven in the chapter where they were using orange magic on the captured benefactors, there's always going to be some people who believe so completely in red magic supremacy that they turn into foaming at the mouth lunatics. But as Eva is quick to remind her mother, most of society is being punished for the beliefs of the few. As Ava and her mom leave the shop, there's a slight disturbance further down the street. In one of the nearby stores, they're all out of color sticks. The customer is upset that they're out, insisting that it takes a lot to protect his family. However, the real unrealistic thing here is how calmly that the would-be customer says, it's not your fault, I'll keep looking for them somewhere else. Because I think that we all know that the next step would be cussing out the shopkeeper and then throwing rubbish at the shop window. Mrs. Locke says that people are panicking and stocking up on supplies, that people are coming and going through the barrier more frequently. That is only a matter of time until somebody that they don't want shows up in Neo Prism. She then changes the topic and asks how the benefactors are settling in. Ava tells her that both Jaden and Marin are making friends, and Jaden is being quite helpful. Mrs. Locke says that she's seen Jaden helping people to move into new housing, which surprises Ava some. Then a second earthquake hits, this one stronger than the one before. Everybody on the street seems surprised and shocked over what happened. When Mrs. Locke says that they don't get earthquakes, Ava debates on if this was caused by people, but Mrs. Locke is quick to dismiss that idea because it didn't feel like that to me. If you've never been in an earthquake before, how can you tell the difference? They're quick to leave after that, each citing that they need to check up on people to make sure that everybody is okay. When Ava gets to the area where her friends live, she finds them all outside. Nikki says that she was slicing vegetables and nicked her finger during the quake, so Ava heals her. Then they tell her that Elm and Sammy went off in search of her, that they left not even a minute earlier, so Ava should be able to catch up with them as she hurries. She goes and stops who she thinks is Elm, but it turns out to be Jaden. He says that he was watching Ava with her friends, which she finds kind of odd because despite the fact that he asked if Ava was okay, he followed her away from the others in order to do this. Jaden then asks where Elm is, which is a fine statement on its own, but when he follows it up by mentioning how territorial that Elm is, it puts Ava on edge. Ava begins to get the creeps as she stands there with Jaden. There's something quite off-putting about his affect, something that this book can't quite name. Ava begins a debate on if she could fight him off, outrun him, or if she should simply scream for help, and instead of doing any of that, she makes a paper with an excuse and leaves. She then went on to the train station where her friends told her that Elma and Sammy were going. The trains were stopped because of the quake so that they could be inspected for damage, so she was able to catch up with them. After telling them what happened, Sammy chides Ava for not having believed in Elm's gut feeling about Jaden, that she would have believed in Elm, which, yeah, you've got a thing for Elm and he didn't choose you. Let's move on. However, Sammy finds the idea of Jaden turning out to be slimy to be nothing but an excuse to dunk on the benefactors. She says that they should be dumped into the same dark hole that they're planning to disappear Selene into. As you might expect, Ava objects to this, mainly because it comes down to each individual person. They have nothing bad to say about Marin, who it seems really was a little brainwashed by all of that. Furthermore, it's not leaving any room for people who got a job as benefactors simply to feed their family, which is something that I see come up a lot in regards to why Germans joined the Nazi Party. It's not about if you agree with them or not, it's about ensuring that your children don't starve. Elm is quick to chide Sammy, insisting that treating the benefactors like that is nothing but the way that the benefactors treated the mentalists, that you can't regain power only to turn around and start treating people the same way that they treat you. Although I do feel like this so-called Christian book really missed an opportunity to make an eye for an eye analogy here. But this leads into asking if they think that Jaden is seriously dangerous or if he's simply weird. The book doesn't use the term autistic, but that's kind of what I think Elm is hinting at here. However, they all kind of note that everybody else thinks that Jaden is great. It's only the three of them, notably three mentalists, who are getting bad vibes from him. They advise to not be alone with him, especially Ava, since Jaden seems rather fixated on her. Elm suggests that they should tell Ivan about this, but Ava declines. She seems to think that alerting Ivan would set the entire Free the Benefactors movement back if one of them turned out to be whatever's wrong with Jaden, but they agree that the three of them need to keep a closer eye on him. Elm hopes that they can catch Jaden in the act and the problem will resolve itself that way. If you're interested in reading my own stories, you can purchase my spicy short stories as well as 2 full-length novels on Amazon. I also frequently run flash sales on my stories. If you're not already following me on Reddit, I recommend doing so to stay updated on when I offer free content. Reddit is currently the only place where I'm advertising myself these days. Chapter 7. Later, Ivan holds a press conference with Ava and Elm up on the stage with him. I thought that it was going to be about the earthquakes, but the press start in about if it's true that they've captured Selene. When they ask if the death penalty is on the table, the entire thing makes Ava uncomfortable. Not because she doesn't think that it's warranted, because this woman has killed so many people with her words alone. The narration never comes out and says it, but I get the impression that despite how awful things turn out and all of the reflecting Ava has been doing about Selene, she was still Ava's mentor, something akin to a mother to her. People get upset when Ivan says that they're going to give Selene a trial. After Maribel tells everybody to be quiet, it's Elm who speaks up about why Selene will be given a trial. It's not about the stuff that they already know that she did. It's about injustice for the people whose names were never known until this point. It's about finding out what she did behind closed doors that nobody can even think about. A big example of stuff we couldn't fathom Selene doing was the plot twist with the children, that she was literally holding them prisoner and grooming them for her own needs. Heaven knows what else Selene has been doing. Speaking of the children, a bunch of people start asking if their own mentalist children are safe. Ivan assures them that Selene herself doesn't seem to know how to get out from under the protective dome without turning it off. Then some reporter asks Ava if it's true that they've brought benefactors into the city and that they have a plan for rehabilitation. Ava is completely caught off guard by this being directed to her specifically. She fumbles with the answer about orange magic, but that only makes the other reporters fling more questions at her. And honestly, this kind of feels like Ivan's fault. He might have asked her to come stand with him for the press conference, but why didn't he prep her to warn her that somebody might ask her a question that they might try to ask about the work that they're doing with the benefactors that they've captured? After the conference is over, Ava admits that it could have gone better, although I stand by what I said. Ava should have been actually prepped for this possibility. She debates on if she should tell Ivan about how creepy that Jaden was being, but ultimately decides to let that fester until it becomes a huge problem. Typical book plot device stuff. Ugh, if you need me, I'm going to be beating my head against the wall. Ava instead asks if Ivan is ready to announce about secondary color magics. He said that he was going to do it at that press conference, but things got out of hand and Ava panicked. He goes on to ask Ava if she'd be willing to start training Neo Prison's military force. The thought of doing so makes her uncomfortable until he and Elm remind her that it wouldn't be that much different from training her friends how to do it. Ivan goes on to say that people are genuinely aware of it, but usually don't experiment the way Ava had been. Later, Ava watches herself on TV on some sort of news segment about secondary color magic. The reporter warns that learning new spells could be dangerous, but that curious folk can sign up for Ava's classes. Ava expresses doubt that she's up to the task to her parents. Sometime after that, Ava and her friends start the first of their lessons with the military. Ava tells her readers that this is the practice run before the general public classes start up. Ava and Nikki give a demonstration of orange magic to the group of soldiers. And then Jaden shows up, because, that festering plot point that's going to become a huge problem. As if to punctuate my point, Nikki tells him that he can't be there, that this is for military personnel only. Then the guards of the military place also notice Jaden and start trying to remove him. Before he goes, Elm tells Jaden that in no uncertain terms is he to go near Ava again. Jaden acts like it's not a big deal. Finally, after he's gone, Ava says that it's probably time to tell Ivan about Jaden's behavior. But when they do tell Ivan, he's quick to brush it under the rug of teenage drama that Jaden simply has a crush on Ava and Elm is being jealous, which is a really awful move. If Ivan was Ivana, you'd better believe that Jaden would be waking up in the middle of the desert with the tattoo of his restraining order against Ava tattooed onto his chest. Believe women when they tell on men. Ivan goes on to say that his men have been keeping an eye on both Jaden and Marin, and about how every single report has been about how both of them are trying to fit in. Notably absent from what Ivan tells Ava right now is the way that Jaden is treating other women, only that Jaden is curious about the city. In a last-ditch effort to convince Ivan that Jaden is up to no good, Ava asks about how Jaden had gotten into the military yard. Ivan is quick to tell them to leave his office. And this only reminds me that Ivan is only on their side whenever the children are useful to him. He literally imprisoned them at the end of the previous book and only joined forces with them when he thought that he could swoop in and capture Selene. Outside of Ivan's office, Ava asks Elm if he thinks that she's being overly paranoid and overreacting about Jaden's behavior. He agrees with her that this is going beyond simply crush territory. They decide that if Ivan won't listen to them, then they need to tell their friends about Jaden's creepy behavior. Patreon has recently introduced free memberships. By joining, you'll be able to enjoy the same content I post on Tumblr, now conveniently available on Patreon. Patreon supporters can enjoy even more books starting at only $1 a month. Plus, Patreon now offers a 1-week free trial. Don't miss it. Big shout out to Phoebe for supporting me on Patreon already. Also, huge thanks to Josh and Mark for making a one-time donation. If you want to hear your name in my video next week, either support me on Patreon or make a one-time donation. Chapter 8. Although Ava's friends validate how weirded out that they felt around Jaden, they still debate on if he's actually a spy or if he's simply got a crush on her. When somebody proposes setting him back, it's met with a lot of negativity. They worry that Jaden would return to the rest of the benefactors and tell them everything he learned, the layout of the city, Ivan's plans, and how they're experimenting with secondary colors. Eventually, they wonder if Marin has any info about Jaden, if she'd ever work with him. They debate on how to bring up the subject without it seeming like an interrogation, and decide to take her to the beach. They take Marin down to the beach, where she's obviously astonished at how far that it goes. Ava makes a passing remark about how she thinks ships used to come, but not anymore. And man, I am going to be really angry if this book finishes and we never find out what happened to the rest of the world. When Ava gets her alone so that Marin doesn't feel overcrowded, she asks about Jaden. Marin says that she doesn't know Jaden all that well. He's a few years older than her and their assignments only rarely overlap, but she goes on to say that she thinks that his mom was also a benefactor. This worries Ava as Jaden might try to reach out to his family. Marin then changes the topic and confesses that she was rather intimidated by Elm, that she found his wanted poster to be quite alluring, and I've read too many romance novels for this. She's quick to reassure Ava that she knows that Elm only has eyes for Ava and that she isn't after Ava's man, but goes on to say that it was the start of the tipping point for her, the seeds of doubt. Although mainly I'm scratching my head over the entire handsome equals can't commit crimes business, but hey, she wasn't wrong about Elm or the other mentalists. Marin is staring out over the ocean as the sun sets. She then asks if that is normal as something comes hurtling towards the shoreline at a fast pace. Ava shoves Marin out of the way in time to avoid being crushed to death by a literal whale as it beaches itself. This obviously draws everybody's attention because WTF. Ava uses her mentalist powers to calm the creature down while another augmenter runs back to the city to get others to come help put the whale back into the ocean. When people show up, Elma is with them and takes over for Ava. Together, all of the red magic users are able to push the whale into deeper water where it's able to swim away. Obviously, this attracted a lot of attention, both on the local media as well as their version of social media. It's heavily implied, but never outright stated. Now I want to explore what social media in this world looks like. But Ava notes not one single person bothers to ask why this happened. Later, everybody is helping to sort out bad or dangerous toys from a toy drive. Ava demonstrates this by accidentally exploding a ball with her red magic. When asked why they're holding a toy drive at all, others explain that it's for the mentalist children being held prisoner by Selene. Maureen says that she feels guilty about it, but everybody else tells her that it's not her fault, that Selene hid the kids from everybody but a trusted few, and Maureen literally didn't know. Speaking of suspicious behavior, Ava then realizes that Jaden isn't there. Literally everybody else from their apartment building is there except for him, which is odd considering that he'd been so eager to be friendly and useful until now. She excuses herself with a paper-thin comment, and Elm leaves with her. As they go, she questions if Ivan's men would have been keeping an eye on him, but Elm kind of calls out Ivan and Ivan's strong belief that anything could possibly be wrong with Jaden. After checking Jaden's apartment, they head over to Ivan's offices. The guards at the front gate say that Jaden had come through not that long ago. Elm and Ava both agree that something isn't right, and they need to split up in order to find him. As she goes, Ava sees Jaden heading in the direction of where Selene is being kept. Ava calls out to him, and he's really rude to her. I guess part of it is because he's finally been caught with his evil plan. As Ava stares at him, she suddenly realizes why it is that Jaden seems so familiar. It's somebody named Veronica. Except, I have no idea who this is. In my defense, it's been a while since I read the other two books, but I would also like to add, this came out 2 years after Vivid was originally released. A little bit of context would surely go a long way here. Thanks for watching. New Book Snark videos go live every Monday with occasional extras during the week. Your support means so much, even if it's not financial. Watching my videos, subscribing, and liking and sharing them with friends all go a long way in helping my channel grow. If you've already caught up with all of my videos, you can go to Facebook, WordPress, Tumblr, or free on Patreon for my main book snarks, always free and updated every morning. A link tree for everything is posted below. See you next week, guys!